Hey everyone, Mherex here, bringing you another video. This one we're going to just kind of take a look at feud prep. I'm going to talk about a lot of different things here. I think this is potentially a trap for a lot of people. So if you are not used to having a top line bonus in feud, and now you do have one with Cena, it may be a kind of a trap to run a lineup like this big with all these golds, right? If you can fill all the spots, if you have Bray, um, you're going to see a lot of really big rosters. Why do I mention that? Well, the big reason is the tier 6 medals. I can tell you I took Muda with tier 2 Fury medals in against somebody with Fury 3s in Showdown just to kind of try it out with Fury 2s. They also had a 50% gem reduction moment, but my Muda that hit for 222 million hit on a tour with Fury 2s hit for 35 million against Fury 3s. So if you run a roster this big, just going to potentially tell you what you could find, and that's why I'm starting this way, okay? I will show you how many sets I have, and I am by no means a whale that has the most sets. Like, not even close, guys. I have gotten very lucky. I have focused on medals. But if I had been somebody that wanted to spend and get way ahead, I would have significantly more. But you can see Fury 3s, I have Rainbow 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have specific colors, another 4, right? So that's literally 8 in that slot. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this slot, 5 in this slot, and 6 in this slot. That means I can run 5 full sets of Fury 2, guys. Okay? I can run 2 full sets of Takedown, and I can run 1 full set of Armor. So potentially tier 6 medals, if I felt like it. I'm not saying I'm going to, but I might. I'm not done setting my feud up. I could run tier 3 medals. I could run 5, 6, 7, 8 out of my... How many are in here? 4, 7, 9. So I could have all but one with those medals. So you go in and fight somebody like that, because it's based off of talent, not what you have equipped. And you're going to have, if you have nobody with that, you're going to have a really bad day and lose a lot of health packs. So that's why I'm starting with this big one. Also, this gives a really good example, kind of. So with a really long feud, I try and maximize my time, right? You guys know that, but it's not just about builds and stuff. It's also about being efficient. So like if you were to look at this, the CSS is, you can see right here, and then the bonus for feud battles is 1 of each class, 10 wins. And then these eras, 6 wins. 2 wins for the CSS. I have all the CSS except for Punk, right? But if you look, this would be all of the CSS, right? I got, that I have. Cena, Bray, Howdy, Dom, Seth, and Mercy. It would also cover Legendera in Bray, right? It would cover Attitude in Austin, New Gen in Sammy and Seth. So, you know, that won't take long. It will miss Reality. It will hit Ruthless Aggression with Cena and hit Hall of Fame with Hall of Fame Ron. So this setup, and then we go here, we have a Powerhouse, we have a Striker, we have a Tech, we have a Showboat, we have a Trickster, and we have an Acro. So literally this whole entire setup would hit all of my CSS except for Reality Era. So that's pretty good if I wanted to run big. I am a little bit scared of what'll happen running big. Maybe I'll consider it because I have so many medals. But this is the kind of thing I think about. You know, you got time to set your roster up and save a bunch of time, right? All of these guys you can see are gold. They all are capable of turn 1 wins. I'm not saying you can do that, but what I am saying is, like, think about it that way. But also remember what I just said about the medals. If you're someone that doesn't have a top line and you're thinking about going ham, you may really struggle this feud, okay? So now that that's said, let's just kind of get out of this mindset a little bit that we started on. And let's set up a lineup. Let's say you got Cena. And I'll move to where you don't have Cena too. Mherex, I have Cena. I want a top line. What should I do? Well, let's kind of take a look at that. Let me get rid of some of these guys. We really need a remove all button. Scopely, if you could get around to that one of these days, that would kind of be fantastic for all of us. I have too many characters. Why can't I find them? That's an open slot. Just go this way. This will remove it. There we go. We'll get Sammy out. Well, that didn't work that great because he's raw. This will work. And then Howdy should get him out. There. And then let's just put Dom here. And Austin works. Nope, Austin doesn't work because I'm stupid. Dom. There we go. Okay, and then Dom back into here. So you could run, you know, potentially something like this, right? Where you're at 193k. Maybe you think that's too small. That's okay. But like to start here, this has to be a striker. This has to be a striker, but you get legend here. I wouldn't obviously run Howdy here if you're trying to be efficient, and most people won't have him, right? So let's think from an efficiency standpoint. I think Reality Era will be a more difficult one for a lot of people. I plan on using Devon, right? So this would get your Dom, your Reality, your Hall of Fame, your Cena, your Bray if you have Bray, right? And then like have a backup plan in mind, right? So say like, cause your specific character like Dom only takes 2. So like, okay, once I'm done with Dom, if he's not my best striker, where am I going to sub to? Well, I'm going to sub to Yeet because Yeet's a little bit better. So I'll sub to Yeet. Once I finish Devon's 6 matches and Ron's 6 matches, do I keep them in? Do I rotate in? If so, how do I do it? All right, I want to go new gen, and let's do new gen and Seth at the same time, right? Let's bang 2 of them out. Let's get Seth in there. That gets 2 and an acro. And you know, you go about it like that. So maybe you have Goldberg, really good Hall of Fame showboat. So set up something like this. Now you're getting new gen, ruthless aggression, showboat. You're also getting Hall of Fame, and you're getting your acros done, right? And that's fine because your acro needs 10 wins anyway. But I wouldn't stress about the acros if you have seen it because he's in the top slot. You know what I mean? And just like, don't stress about your striker or your legend if you have Bray. If you don't, though, then yeah, you got to worry about your legend and your striker, right? If you have Powerhouse Austin, would recommend him for your Powerhouse and Attitude, both, because he's a very good Attitude. But you could also just as easily use like Showboat Taker, right? Get your Attitude and your Showboat in one, and then you're not worrying about it. Just like Goldberg with Hall of Fame for your Hall of Fame and your Showboat. There's a ton of options in how you do this, guys. But just kind of think about it, right? A little bit. And then, so like realistically, I would probably run something like this though. If I wanted to get all my stuff done, since I don't need a striker up here, I'm actually, you know, I have Sammy, but let's me try and do something with less whaley stuff, right? For sure. We'll just, Bray is what it is. Because that's a slot. If not, you could use Trickster Bray and try and get those wins. But honestly, guys, those wins are going to come very difficult, right? So, you know, roll Dom in here for your 2 Dom wins. Roll Seth in here for your 2 Seth wins. Then you can swap those guys out to other spots, unless Dom's your best striker, which he very well might be. And you could run something along the lines of this size, and probably with this lineup be really, really fine. Let me finish putting some guys in here. Let's say you have Turtle Ray. There's some new gen powerhouse, right? He'd be worthy potentially of a top lane for you. You know, and now we're at 231k. That still doesn't feel too bad with these superstars. So that covers new gen. We got Showboat Goldberg, Hall of Fame. And then maybe you run your Devon if you have Devon, or your Trick Bubba. Trick Bubba would be another great one for reality, as well as Trickster in the same one, especially if, like, you know, you don't have Howdy to run in the raw position kind of thing, you know what I mean? And you don't have to worry about Howdy CSS. So you can kind of see, like, now you run a roster. Let's see, is this pretty good? What do we got? We got Powerhouse, Ruthless Aggression. We got Legend. Something like this would tick a ton of boxes, right? And still be a very strong feud lineup. Obviously, the bigger your roster is, the better you can do it, but you could get away with the 266K roster this way. If you're like, but Mherex, I need this line bonus. Okay, if you need the line bonus, and you must, do something like this instead of going like full ham. And then just go to your lowest talent. Whoever it is, it doesn't matter. Throw your lowest talent in raw, throw your lowest talent in the open slot. Now you're still only 269K, you have your line bonus, and you're good. You don't ever try and win with these crappy ones. That's your whole goal should be to set stuff up where you don't have to win with crappy stuff, right? And then know in your mind, okay, once I finish Seth, where am I going? Well, I have Ray, so once I finish both of Seth's, I'm going to go with Mercy because I need to get my tech wins. You know what I mean? I need to get my tech wins, and he's CSS. So he'll give me 2 tech wins. He'll give me CSS. He's really good. So in fact, let's just say he's my best tech. I'll just stick with Mercy the rest of the way in this slot. Unless I feel like changing after I finish all this when I get bored. But at least through this phase, have like, who's your swap? You know what I mean? You got CM Punk at Acro. He can take care of Acro for you, obviously. But I think he's PG if I'm not mistaken, and there's no PG requirement. You know what I mean? So I would imagine if you don't have like Goldberg, use your next best Hall of Fame, whoever it is. Hall of Fame Ron would be great, as you saw from my opening, right? So that's some stuff you can do there too. All right, Mherex, but I don't have a top line. I don't have really crazy superstars. How should I approach this? I don't have any CSS except for, oh crap, I got to empty this. I don't have any CSS except for Seth and Dom, right? So let's set this up with Seth and Dom, and how would I go about that? So I'm just going to have to get rid of some stuff here. Bear with me, guys. We really need a removal button, for sure. But we know has. It's fine. We can make do, I suppose, if we has to. And you know what? We have to. One day. Let's put Dom here and get him removed. Actually, Bray will work. I saw him first. Now we can do Dom. Oh, Bray can go there. Let's put Bray in Bray spot. And then we'll put Bray here. And then we can kind of start fresh. So let's say you don't have a huge roster, you only have a couple CSS, and actually I think I can make this work. We'll do that. Yeah, we'll do this. Let's go with let's move Bray down here. Let's just go. All right, like so. And so you can't fill this lane except with like one of the, is it a 6-star requirement too? It's 6-star silver. So don't take a bad Bray up to 6-star silver, right? Like, just don't, guys. It's not, unless you have a ton of resources to waste, like, and all of them are bad, unfortunately, except Showboat, you know? Or sorry, yeah, not Showboat, Striker, the legendary one. So just don't even bother with the middle lane, to be honest, right? And now let's try and set a lineup where you're going to use your Seth, you're going to use your Dom, and see if you can get those CSS out of the way and then work through your other stuff. So we're going to put Dom there. Actually, is he raw? Yeah, we're going to put Dom there. Let's get rid of Austin because he's not realistic. We'll go here. And then let's get Seth Rowe Jenkins in here. Seth is actually pretty decent. There's a bunch of different ways you can play him. Obviously. Why does he not show up? Maybe I'm blind. We all know I'm blind. Let's go available instead now. There he is. We'll go Seth here. We also need to get rid of Hall of Fame Ron, so let's just do that real quick. Showboat. There, now we can mess around. All right. Rex Regum also not realistic. So Trickster, let's say maybe you got Bubba, maybe you don't, but Bubba would be great, like we said, because he can get those reality wins for you. So, and then Legend Showboat, maybe you're rocking like or Hall of Fame showboat. Let's say you got Ray, so you're running Hall of Fame Ray. You could start with something like this. Bubba's actually still rare, so I'll give some other options. But in this case, you get your 2 CSS wins with Seth, gives you 2 new gen, you get you 2 wins with Dom. Okay, though your CSS are done, you don't need to worry about those. Dom's a striker, Seth's an acro. You got some of those out of the way. And now what's your plan B? Now that you've finished Dom and he's raw and you don't need him for modern, so he would be somebody you'd swipe out, and then bring in like your powerhouse, and preferably, you know, an era that maybe you don't have covered, which might be harder, right? So let's just take a look through our powerhouses, see what we can find. If we have to use modern, we will. Why is this jumbled funny? Let's go back out of here. Oh, it's because it's raw. So Dom is maybe not the best spot to do this when it's raw, but you could continue getting your wins with Dom for striker. You know, if you don't have, let's say you don't have Bubba, then you can switch to R-Truth, and now you can put in whatever your best attitude is. Maybe you just got Showboat Taker, so you're gonna throw Showboat Taker in an attitude spot, so you don't have to worry about that. But this has to be Trickster. Who's actually really good with wins here? There's not a lot of good ones. Hall of Fame Brutus, Attitude Era, NWO Macho would be great, right? So that can get you your attitude wins. Now you're doubling down with Trick though, so you probably don't want R-Truth here anymore. So you're gonna look again. Hopefully you have one of these 3. They would be great at tech, but maybe not, right? Roger Rabbit can get you your striker wins if your Dom isn't that good. So you just have an idea, guys, who you're going to rotate in next. There's nothing wrong with running 143k lineup, so you miss a bunch of that stuff. If you feel the need, like it's too easy, you can always add like 1 or 2 more in. But have an idea ahead of time. I find when I set my roster, it helps to look at the CSS like I have up on the screen for you. So you can really set a good plan of attack, right? So now you got your attitude and you got your trickster. So like NWO Macho is a great one to bang both of them out. And if you have some stuff for him, you know what I mean? And be realistic though. If you don't have the eras, you can't run this big. If you don't have decent people in the eras that can win, you can't run. You just have to find somebody your level, and run with them and do a smaller lineup. You might have to run at 100k or 75k. I don't know what's on your roster, but you want to be able to win, and win in a decent time frame. So maybe we just should look at some of the eras real quick and what some of your options are. Because I think, so Ruthless Aggression era, that's not the way to do this, Mherex. Might be a harder one for some people. So let's kind of start at Ruthless Aggression. I would highly recommend, if you don't have a big roster, a Striker Batista. He can get you your Striker win. Actually, let's go to Legend while we're here. So Legend is going to be another really tough one if you have a smaller roster, right? KO is probably a really good one. Rocky 76 is also probably a good one, and a lot of people should have Rocky 76 if they were playing during his thing. You should have him, right? Otherwise, KO is very serviceable. A bunch of different builds on him you can look up. So kind of that route for Legend would be 2 I would recommend. Maybe Pat Patterson if you have to. But I would say those would be the big guys in the Legendary I would use as good options that people should have. We'll just kind of go through it by era. Hall of Fame, obviously, Goldberg can absolutely hit if you got Goldberg. Ray is really good. So if you can run those like on a smaller roster to good success. DDP, if you snagged him, not on a smaller roster necessarily. He's got some pretty big power gems, so you don't need crazy stuff to win. And so those are some good like mentions of people in those classes. Hopefully you have, or eras, hopefully you have them leveled up. Modern is not a thing. What's next for this one? New gen could be a struggle potentially, except everyone should have Shredder and Seth. I mean, they're both great. So Shredder can also knock your tech matches out super easily. I would really lean heavy on Shredder. If you haven't leveled him on a newer account, absolutely you should. Also, super underrated is Donatello. You don't need big stuff, and you can hit very, very hard. So there's some trickster, a really good trickster for a lot of people. And Seth is actually decent depending what you have, because you don't need a lot of stuff necessarily, and he can hit pretty consistent. So I'd kind of look at those for your new gen as being guys you could swap in and use. Thankfully, we don't need PG. Um, reality is just rough, really rough in reality. So your actual amount of usable ones is pretty slim. Um, low against low, you if you have to use Barrett, go low. He's got a big sub, but it's gonna take a while. You do not want him against golds or silvers. Ideally, you'd use him against bronze and lower. Uh, you know, it's just it's rough out here in the reality era waters. So that's the one I would be the most careful with. Don't slow your whole team down because of it. And get those maybe out of the way first, or just maybe last and see if it's actually going to matter, unless you have one of these three. You know, these three you'll be fine with. The rest of them will be a struggle. So reality definitely the hardest. Ruthless aggression, assuming you don't have new Cena. Tech Cena had a great rework, so if you got his fuse, by all means go with him. And then Striker Batista. Those two are your money makers, and then Trick Ozzy. Ozzy's very good as well. So that's like three really good options. You can get Striker, you can get Trick, you can get Technician wins out of there. The Eddie rework, not so much. But if you, yeah, not so much. Ozzy blows him away. So that's kind of how I would look at your eras and see which one is your toughest and have a game plan like ahead of time. And then you go back to setting up your roster like appropriately. Um, kind of thing. I just don't want to do a bunch of thinking generally, so this gets almost everything out of the way, so I probably will try it if my partner's okay with it. But it's a mistake to go that big unless you got a bunch of medals, because it's just going to be rough. So I really don't want to. So it seems more likely I'll end up doing something much smaller, where we go like, I just take my low talent stuff and do that, right? I'm pretty sure that's how I'm going to run, and then I'll cycle through my CSS and get those banged out, and then just run when I, like my actual lineup, I'll run that I want to when all is said and done, and ignoring the CSS when I'm done with all these wins. If I'm not sick of playing by then, which there's a realistic chance I will, quite will be, right? Talent, yeah, I want talent, and yeah, this is the problem. Who will I use in this slot this time? Probably Zombie Punk. I want to play him a little bit. And then Trickster will just be R-Truth for me. I think. Something like that. Probably. Where I run fairly low. Actually, that's not... I probably will rotate and do this. Because I really want to use... I want to do this for funsies. I want to have some fun. Imagine that, having some fun in the game. I wanna run a Dudley feud here, so I might do this where I go with the Dudleys and get the tables, and then let's put Sammy next to his bro Jay up here, and let's make this really. Let's go extra. Let's do this. Yeah, look at all the line of Dudleys. So I might do something like that where I'm running Yeet and Sammy next to each other, and I'm getting the tables with the Dudleys when I'm all done, just for funsies. Um, just FYI, he can hit really hard with a yellow Royal Rumble, and he can hit really hard with the Punk's gauntlets and stuff. But it'll be, just kind of amuse myself. So maybe something like that, because at this point, there's just the milestones to get. And once you have milestones or you decide you're not going to get them, you might as well have some fun, right, guys? But in particular, also notice with the cage buffs, I haven't talked about those because I usually set my lineup without them. Some really big buffs that'll be good. Cross breaks, Turtle Ray is going to hit ridiculously hard, right? X breaks, Zombie Punk will hit super hard with those. Also, Dom with his X breaks going to hit super duper hard. Leech gems. Is there anyone that I particularly like with leech gems besides the new Cenas and it requires a sub for their leeches? Not really on the guy's side, no. Um, Not really, no. Reinforce, I know there's somebody I'm not really thinking of right now, but there's a good filter, so let's go to an open spot. Seth freaking Rollins will hit super hard with the reinforced boost, for example. Yeah, Seth Rollins seems like he would hit hard. I'm in a showboat spot, or just is it all showboats that have reinforce? So like Seth Rollins, red and blue is good as well. Like JD McDonough will hit super hard with the blue move, especially if you have a blue Royal Rumble on him. So he'll hit quite hard. Um, you know, Sean will hit harder. DX Sean. The red will really benefit Vader as well. Vader hits hard anyway. Um, you know what I mean? So there's some really good options. There's no debuff, just buffs. I mean, Jacob's gonna hit hard. So plenty of options you guys can run with for good, fun people to use if you want to use these boosts. But realistically, I think the two best boosts in this feud are the cross break. I mean, like for Turtle Ray, and then X break for Punk and Zombie Dom in particular. Those are probably the best ones. As far as like, ooh, those will be significant, you know. So I don't know if that helps, guys. This is a little bit different than the last one I did, where I ran some characters and ran their builds. But some people complained that was whaley. So I'm just more trying to give you guys ideas of how to set your roster for success, right? Like even with just know if you go full ham, you're going to see a ton of tier 6 medals. Even at this rate, you should probably see a set or two. So don't be surprised if you go to hit somebody and they just don't hit and you're like, what? Because Fury 2s versus Fury 3s, it's not pretty, guys. So keep that in mind. I hope you have a really good feud and a lot of fun. As always, my videos, I tend to kind of wing it and do them off the cuff, and they're kind of always evolving and stuff. So I like doing it a certain way, and then I no longer do, or I get bored with it, or I want to try something new. So let me know if you liked this feud video. Maybe I don't talk enough about the boosts for you. Maybe I didn't talk enough about smaller rosters. Maybe I didn't talk enough about bigger rosters. Like, give me your honest, constructive feedback and criticism, please. Because I'm always trying to get better and be more useful as a content creator and create useful videos for you guys. So let me know what you think, and remember to like, subscribe, and share because that really helps me out. Other than that, guys, thanks for watching. Good luck out there. Should be an interesting feud. I'll try and record some of the feud battles. No promises because it's on the weekend.